Black Belt asked a cleaning lady to fight as a joke. What happened next silenced the whole gym. An inspiring story by Heartfelt Tales. The mop hit the floor with a wet slap, and in that moment, Marcus Chen thought he'd found the perfect target for his cruel entertainment. He had no idea he was about to face the most humbling experience of his martial arts career. It was a typical Tuesday evening at Dragon's Den Martial Arts Academy. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as black belts practiced their forms, their crisp white uniforms moving in perfect synchronization. Marcus, a newly minted second-degree black belt, stood among them, his chest puffed with pride and his ego inflated beyond measure. At 28, he'd earned his rank through dedication and natural talent, but somewhere along the way, success had poisoned his character. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like this video and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more inspiring stories. As the evening session wound down, Marcus noticed Maria Santos quietly mopping the training mats in the corner. She was a small woman in her 50s, with calloused hands and tired eyes that spoke of long days spent cleaning office buildings and gyms throughout the city. Her graying hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her worn cleaning uniform hung loose on her slight frame. To Marcus, she represented everything he believed himself to be above. "Hey, Maria!" Marcus called out loudly, causing the remaining students to turn their heads. "Want to learn some self-defense? I bet I could teach you a thing or two." His voice dripped with condescension, and several students chuckled uncomfortably. Maria looked up from her mop, her dark eyes meeting his with quiet dignity. "I appreciate the offer, Mr. Chen, but I'm just here to clean." "Come on," Marcus pressed, stepping closer with his hands on his hips. "Don't be shy. I promise I'll go easy on you. What do you say we have a little sparring match? Just for fun." The way he said fun made it clear he intended anything but. The gym fell silent except for the steady drip of Maria's mop bucket. Even Master Kim, the elderly Korean instructor who ran the academy, stopped organizing equipment to watch the unfolding scene. Several black belts shifted uncomfortably, sensing the cruelty in Marcus's challenge but uncertain how to intervene. Maria set her mop aside and straightened her shoulders. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, not fear, but something deeper, more complex. "You really want to spar with me, Mr. Chen?" "Oh, absolutely," Marcus grinned, bouncing on his toes like a boxer. "Don't worry, I'll make sure you don't get hurt. Much." His last word drew a few nervous laughs from the crowd that had begun to gather. What Marcus didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Maria Santos had a story that would have humbled him to his core. 25 years earlier, she had been Maria Herrera, one of Mexico's most promising female martial artists. She had trained in traditional karate, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before women's MMA was even recognized as a legitimate sport. She had been a national champion, a warrior who had fought in underground circuits where skill mattered more than gender or recognition. But life had other plans for Maria. A devastating injury during training had ended her competitive career just as professional women's fighting was gaining momentum. Then came marriage to a man who forbade her from fighting, children who needed her full attention, and eventually, after her husband's death in a construction accident, the crushing responsibility of supporting her family alone in a foreign country. The cleaning jobs paid the bills and put her kids through school, but they had cost her everything she once was. "Very well," Maria said simply, removing her cleaning gloves. "But I have one condition. If I win, you apologize to every person in this gym for your disrespectful behavior. And you donate $100 to the children's program here." Marcus laughed out loud. "And when I win?" "If you win," Maria replied, her voice steady as steel, "I'll clean this entire gym for free for a month." The crowd murmured with excitement and discomfort. Master Kim stepped forward, his weathered face creased with concern. "Perhaps we should reconsider this." "No," Maria interrupted gently. "Sometimes lessons need to be learned the hard way." Marcus was already stretching, showing off his flexibility to the gathering crowd. "This is going to be over in 30 seconds, he announced loudly. "Hope everyone's got their cameras ready for the shortest fight in Dragon's Den history." But as Maria began to stretch, something remarkable happened. Her movements became fluid, purposeful, each motion revealing decades of muscle memory that cleaning floors had never quite erased. She rolled her shoulders, rotated her hips, and suddenly, the tired cleaning lady seemed to transform before their eyes. The two fighters moved to the center of the mat, Marcus bouncing and shadowboxing while Maria stood perfectly still, her feet naturally settling into a fighting stance that spoke of countless hours of training. Master Kim reluctantly agreed to referee, his expression troubled but curious. "Bow to each other," he instructed. Marcus gave a mocking half-bow while Maria offered a deep, respectful bow that honored not just her opponent, but the art itself. "Fight!" Marcus immediately lunged forward with a textbook right cross, expecting to overwhelm his smaller opponent with speed and power. But Maria wasn't there. She had slipped the punch with minimal movement, her years of experience allowing her to read his telegraphed attack like a book. Before Marcus could recover, Maria's left hand shot out in a lightning-fast jab that snapped his head back. The gym gasped. It wasn't a hard punch, but its precision and timing were absolutely perfect. Marcus stumbled backward, shock replacing his cocky grin. "Lucky shot," he muttered, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. He came forward again, this time with a combination he drilled thousands of times. Right jab, left hook, right uppercut. It should have been devastating against an untrained opponent. Instead, Maria moved like water, slipping and ducking with minimal effort while landing 3 quick counterstrikes to his ribs. The sound of her knuckles hitting his body echoed through the silent gym like gunshots. Marcus retreated, breathing hard and trying to process what was happening. The woman who had been mopping floors 5 minutes ago was making him look like a white belt. What the hell? His words were cut off as Maria stepped forward with a beautiful combination. A leg kick that buckled his knee, followed by a straight left that snapped his head to the side, and finished with a right hook that sent him stumbling into the wall of mirrors. The gym was dead silent except for Marcus's heavy breathing. He wiped blood from his split lip and stared at Maria in disbelief. She hadn't even broken a sweat. "Had enough?" Maria asked quietly. Marcus's pride wouldn't let him quit. He charged forward with a wild haymaker, putting all his strength behind a punch that could have seriously hurt an inexperienced fighter. But Maria ducked under it effortlessly and came up with an uppercut that lifted Marcus off his feet before sending him crashing to the mat. This time, he stayed down. Master Kim didn't need to count. Marcus was conscious but thoroughly beaten, his ego as bruised as his face. The gym remained silent as Maria walked over and offered him her hand. "Are you hurt?" she asked with genuine concern. Marcus stared up at her, his world completely shattered. Nothing made sense anymore. Who are you?" Maria helped him to his feet, her touch gentle despite what had just transpired. "I'm exactly who I said I was. I'm Maria Santos, and I clean buildings to support my family." "But how did you?" 25 years ago, I was the national women's karate champion of Mexico," Maria said simply. "I also held titles in Muay Thai and was training for what would have been some of the first official women's MMA fights before I got injured. Life took me in a different direction, but the training never really leaves you." The gym erupted in amazed murmurs as students processed this revelation. Master Kim stepped forward, his eyes bright with respect and understanding. "Maria Herrera," he said softly. "I knew that name sounded familiar. You were legendary in the underground circuits. I saw you fight in Los Angeles in 1998. You were incredible." Marcus sat heavily on a bench, holding his head in his hands. Everything he thought he knew about strength, about respect, about what made someone worthy of consideration had just been obliterated in under 3 minutes. "I don't understand," he said finally. "Why didn't you tell anyone? Why are you cleaning gyms when you could be teaching?" Maria sat beside him, her expression patient and kind. Because this pays the bills and put my children through college. Because honest work is nothing to be ashamed of, no matter what form it takes. Because I learned long ago that your worth as a person isn't determined by whether people know your accomplishments. The weight of her words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He had spent so much time building his identity around his belt rank, around being seen and acknowledged, that he'd forgotten what martial arts was supposed to teach him about humility and character. "I'm sorry," he whispered, and for the first time in years, his apology was completely genuine. "I'm so sorry." "I know you are," Maria replied. "But you don't owe the apology to me alone." Marcus stood up slowly, his body aching but his spirit beginning to heal. He turned to face the crowd of students who had witnessed his humiliation and his education. "I owe all of you an apology," he said, his voice growing stronger. "I've been acting like my belt rank made me better than other people. I disrespected Maria, I disrespected this gym, and I disrespected everything martial arts is supposed to teach us about character and humility." He reached into his wallet and pulled out 5 $20 bills, handing them to Master Kim. "For the children's program. And Maria, I'll clean the gym for free for a month, whether I won or lost. It's the least I can do." But Maria shook her head. "Keep your money for the children. And you don't need to clean for me. But I would like to ask you for something else. Anything. Help me start a self-defense program for working women. Single mothers, cleaning ladies, waitresses, women who might need these skills but can't afford traditional martial arts classes. Use your privilege and your platform to help others instead of putting them down." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. "I would be honored to help. But would you consider teaching alongside me? The students would learn so much more from you than from me." Maria smiled, and for the first time that evening, the tired cleaning lady was completely gone, replaced by the warrior she had always been inside. "I think I'd like that very much." Over the following months, Marcus and Maria's partnership transformed not just the gym, but everyone who trained there. The self-defense program for working women became wildly successful, with Maria sharing not just techniques but the deeper wisdom she'd gained through her journey from champion to mother to survivor to teacher. Marcus learned to find his strength not in dominating others, but in lifting them up. He discovered that true confidence didn't need to prove itself through cruelty or condescension. Most importantly, he learned that everyone has a story, and those stories deserve respect regardless of what job someone does or what clothes they wear. The gym became a place where janitors trained alongside CEOs, where single mothers learned to protect themselves while their children played safely nearby, where the measure of a person was taken not by their bank account or their job title, but by their character and their willingness to grow. Maria never returned to competitive fighting, but she found something even more valuable, the knowledge that her skills and experience could make a real difference in other people's lives. She discovered that teaching others to protect themselves was just as fulfilling as any championship she'd ever won. And Marcus learned the most important lesson of all, that true strength isn't about what you can take from the world, but what you can give back to it. The mop still sits in the corner of Dragon's Den Martial Arts Academy, but now it's a reminder to everyone who trains there that dignity and worth aren't determined by the job you do or the recognition you receive. They come from how you treat others and how you choose to use whatever gifts you've been given. Sometimes the most powerful opponents come disguised as the people we least expect. Sometimes the greatest victories come from the defeats that teach us who we really are. And sometimes, the most important battles we fight are the ones against our own pride and prejudice. In the end, Marcus learned that asking a cleaning lady to fight as a joke had been the best thing that ever happened to him. Because in losing that fight, he finally found himself. Did this story touch your heart? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Share a moment when someone surprised you with their hidden talents or when you learned an important lesson about judging others. Your stories inspire us to create more content like this. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest inspiring stories. We post new content every week that celebrates the strength, wisdom, and dignity found in everyday people living extraordinary lives. Thank you for being part of our community, and remember, everyone has a story worth respecting. Until next time, keep your hearts open and your minds ready to be amazed by the incredible people all around you.